I got to show you what just came in the mail from HempWorks. Okay. Look, I want you to know that the shampoo and conditioner is fantastic. If you're not using it, you should use it. Yes. And then I'll tell you what else came today. My fruit gummies, the CBD fruit gummies. When you take them, each one is like 25 milligrams. They are fantastic for you and your body. I take them a couple of times a day. They help with anxiety. Do you take them?
I do. I tend to forget that I have the gummies, but I take my CBD and other.
Oh, you do, right? Right? You do. You take it.
I have some CBD pills, not pills.
Oh, you have the capsules.
I have the capsules, yeah.
Yes, I love the capsules. I also like the relief. This is a cream that we use to put on pain. So it's a topical cream, cooling. And so I use this all the time.
I do too.
So I'm so happy it came. And then I have the tinctures. And some people love using the tinctures, 500, 750, and 1500. So you can get more concentrated doses if you need higher amounts of CBD.
Yeah, I have it in like 6 different flavors.
Which I'm sending this up to my son. I love this stuff.
It smells amazing and it's very luxurious.
I guess that's the word I'd use. It's really luxurious. It's a top quality product with hemp, good for your skin, and enriches it. Okay?
Yeah. So we love HempWorks.
Oh. All right. I don't know why that always makes me laugh. Welcome, everyone. You are on the Step Into the Miraculous show today, and you are live with Joan of Angels. I am an oracle, a teacher, and a broadcaster, and I go live every week on several times a week to Step Into the Miraculous, Miracle Monday, and also 420 Spiritual Living. And all the shows are dedicated to actually really stepping into the miraculous, finding your miracle path, and unfolding your personal destiny, what you're here to do this life, so you could be of service and really play it forward. Let's put it that way, and share in shifting this planet into a higher vibration. And speaking of higher vibration, it is actually happening. Ascension's happening, awakening's happening. People are moving out of 3D and anchoring into the 5D. And today we are going to be doing healings and talking about healings and activations for starseeds, way showers, light workers, spiritually minded animal lovers. So stay tuned, because you're going to love our guest when I bring her in. Now, if you're new to my tribe, please kindly like, subscribe, and share so we can grow our channel. All right. And check out my latest online course, learning how to use your superpowers and become an intuitive ninja so you can handle all the stress that is happening today. All right, so that's enough about all of that. I'm bringing my guest, Lori Spagna, on. She is a best-selling author, a speaker, an ascension guide, multidimensional channel. She's all of this and more, by the way. I mean, even there aren't enough words to describe her, but a DNA activator, an animal communicator, an energy healer, a visionary, a light worker, and a star seed who has actually transformed the lives of thousands of humans and animals. And we are going to definitely talk about the animals who are such light beings via her channeled ascension guidance, intuition, sacred energy, healing, and animal communication and telepathy. And she's going to tell us all about what she's doing and her current classes, which are very, very exciting. So I want everyone to welcome Lori. Oh, she has her pet right there. Okay.
If I don't have her with me, she will be playing all over the place. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Oh my God, I'm so excited to see you. We already have some of your fans are hopping on, some of mine too. I'm just grateful to see you.
Yeah, I'm so happy to be here with you. I was saying right before we had to start how much I appreciated you during our interview together with the Portal to Ascension conference, because you were so kind. And I mean, I just felt like you were such a great interviewer that I felt like you created a stage, like a safe space for such amazing stuff to come through. And you made me feel so comfortable. and safe in that platform. So I just really appreciated.
Oh my God, that is one of my things that I love to do. So please drop Neil a note. He knows that I'm interviewing you because we're also streaming live on Portal to Ascension.
Oh, awesome!
But you could say Joan was such a great interviewer because actually I have so much fun doing these interviews. It gives me a slice that I don't normally have. And you, Lori, are different for me because, with the Conscious Life Expo, I was able to introduce you a few times when you were doing the psychic, the animal communication panels, and you always have a lot to say.
So have a lot to say. Yes.
Well, they do. So, how did you start doing all of this? Let's go back to the very basic area.
Well, the long and short of it is that I was, out of college. I was in corporate America, and I had all kinds of really unhealthy behavioral patterns that developed to coping mechanisms over drinking, like excessive overspending, excessive pharmaceutical drugs by well-meaning doctors, excessive food, coffee, nicotine, alcohol, like the whole thing, like every unhealthy behavior you could develop. My brother died of an unexpected drug overdose. I started getting messages from him. Took me about a year just to work with that. And at that time, after that, like my husband pretty much divorced me, thought I was crazy, but I quit my 6-figure job and like with all that unhealthy stuff going on, and I became a dog trainer, and I immediately started getting messages from the dogs, and I started playing with that. And within 2 years of that, of the dog training business starting, all those behaviors were gone. Like all the debt, the 6-figure credit card debt was gone, the pounds, the coffee, the excessive nicotine, excessive alcohol, pharmaceutical drugs gone forever. And eventually it parlayed into animal communication, telepathy, and then it parlayed into healing, and then it parlayed into psychic gifts. And it just kept growing because I was getting aligned with my right divine path, and my gifts were growing and expanding through my love and my service and joy of doing them.
Well, you already said something very profound, which is that when you're not on the right divine path, that anxiety is so uncomfortable that we can barely cope. And most of the destructive behavior has to do with being on that divine wrong path.
That's exactly right.
Right. So you already gave clue one.
Yeah, that's totally it. And then once we start getting aligned, it wasn't like, I tried to quit smoking for 20 years. I couldn't quit. And then all of a sudden I start getting aligned with what I'm supposed to do, what my true divine alignment is. And that stuff just dropped away.
I love that. That's so true. No, there's no time for it anymore.
There's no interest in it. There's not even any interest in it.
But that explains your behavior. So you are so energetic with everything that you do, and you always have such a high vibration. I could kind of see your type A from the business world having entered into, not in a bad way, but kind of giving you the energy to do so many different things.
Well, one thing I will say is that I have noticed, and this is very, very frequent in the healing arts, people will say sometimes that they get tired or drained. And usually if they're saying that, from my perspective, it's because they're not really working with source energy, because source is energy, source, the original source of infinite, omnipresent consciousness, infinite, omnipresent, all that is, including energy, that will never fatigue you. That will infuse you with even more energy. So I feel like that's where it comes from. I don't run low on energy. When I do retreats, and I go for 12, 15-hour days, So
I noticed. I don't know you personally, but I felt your energy and the interactions in the last few weeks and all the things you're doing. So you do a lot of wonderful things. I know that you're going to be doing a very exciting crystal conference. So let's start talking about the use of crystals in our lives, how we use them, how they can change our life.
Well, let me say, I'm in Arkansas right now. You can kind of see I'm literally in a tree house here. And when I started coming to Arkansas, I guess it was maybe over 10 years ago, I didn't even know why I was coming. I really didn't get it. And people were like, you're being called. And I really didn't resonate with Arkansas. I didn't resonate with crystals. But when I came here, I had some incredibly profound experiences that just so dramatically changed me. And after that, I started working with the Lemurian crystals. And I was seeing how they were facilitating more consciousness activations in me. And I just started falling in love with the land and the crystals, the Lemurian crystals here that are like anchored into the earth here. And after that, I started leading these retreats to help people also who are drawn to it. And these Lemurian crystals, what they really do is they're record keepers. So, oh, did we get disconnected? Am I still here? Yeah, okay, it looks like I'm still here. Sorry. So they're record keepers, and they're storing up information, energy, and consciousness for us to facilitate our awakening. And when we learn how to work with them, they can not only do healing with us, for others, but also activate lots of our dormant potential, including our dormant DNA. And that was like the hot button for me, because that's my thing, the DNA.
Well, tell me about that then. What happens when you activate it?
Well, so the DNA, first of all, I'm sure you know this, but do you know what the most prized possession is on earth that anyone can have?
DNA?
The DNA. And most people don't realize that right now there is a massive claiming of DNA. You know, the way to get it is one of the ways to get DNA is with a Q-tip up the nose, for example.
Right.
Garner someone's DNA. We know factually that all those Ancestry and Me sites are being purchased by like the CIA, for example. They want the DNA. It's a prized possession. We don't realize that. So
oh my God, wait a minute. Okay, I just have to take that in for a second. Okay, I heard that. All right, because I had my DNA looked at. Okay, good. So now knowing that
it's not to be afraid of, but it is that we have to become more conscious about what we're doing with our DNA and who we're giving it.
And I never thought of it. Okay, never thought about my DNA in that way. So this is great. I can feel the opening with this.
Right. So, but the gift of the DNA, what's most important to understand, I think, is that humans, the original human blueprint, the original human DNA is perfect and pure, if unhijacked and left uncorrupted. But it has been corrupted. And when I say corrupted, I mean messed with over thousands and thousands and thousands of years before we can count, maybe way more than thousands. I mean, I'm hearing millions, actually. If we were to put it into a chronological order, millions and millions and millions, and even in some cases you could say billions, but that's just a linear way. Nonetheless, our DNA has been corrupted. And so now we're in a process of cleaning it up ourselves. And so when we talk about illness, sickness, disease, poverty, lack, loneliness, sadness, grief, suffering, all forms of trauma, all forms of behavioral problems, physical, mental, emotional problems, challenges, all of that is from corrupted DNA from our ancestors. And so we're now at a time where those of us who are really waking up realize that not only can we clean all that up so we never have to pass it down into the future, and so that we don't have to replay those issues. Like, for example, if an ancestor had a disease like breast cancer, you don't have to have it. You can clean it up out of your DNA. That really is real. Not only are we realizing that, but actually what we're realizing is that inside of our DNA, we have the solutions to all the world's problems, all of our own problems and all of humanity's problems. Not every person's DNA has the solutions to the whole world's problems, but every person's DNA offers solution. But so, for example, most people, I mean, the majority of humanity is completely unaware that we have codes in our DNA for immunity and imperviousness. Now,
most people don't even know what it really looks like, the DNA, but yes, I kind of can picture it because we studied it in college.
Let me say this piece to drive this home, and then I'll address that. We have in our DNA dormant codes for 100% immunity and imperviousness to every virus, to any form of nanotechnology, to all forms of EMF, to anything in the environment that could be physically harmful or detrimental to us. Right. But we don't know that until we become conscious of it, and using our consciousness and at very pure frequencies, which are non-physical, very pure frequencies, which we could say that are beyond 5D, fifth dimensional reality, we can activate those codes in our DNA. And what happens is we start at first being unafraid and as it progresses, we start realizing we are really immune and impervious to the things that we activate that immunity and imperviousness to, including, virus, since that's a hot topic these days. But you almost can't imagine it in your mind if you've never heard of that before, because it's a foreign concept. And it's only because those codes aren't activated in you yet. But once they get activated, it's part of your knowing, and it becomes part of your daily life. And that is a solution for humanity. Just one example.
Wow. Okay. That's a huge solution for humanity.
Yeah.
Because, so that even though we have this little code, we can call it a code, right? That that's for our immunity, for perfect immunity. It obviously is not working right in most people, many people.
It's not working right. People haven't activated it. Here's why.
Whoa.
In the old paradigm of 3D, and 3D is just the physical world that we've always lived in before we start to become super conscious. And we're all going through this ascension process, right? Where we're becoming more conscious and more aware, and where we're shifting our vibrational energy. We're up-leveling, purifying, so-called raising our vibration and our frequency. And in that old paradigm, we just didn't know they were there. And just like a book on a shelf, it could be sitting there forever, but if you don't take it down and look at it and say, oh, it's that same concept. It's a blueprint in the DNA. It's not that it's not working, it's that it has to be activated. It has to be consciously read by the human, because we're living in a free world reality. So it's up to a human to say, all right, I'm choosing that.
Consciously reading your own DNA is a process.
Yes.
Okay, it's the first time I've heard about it. So that's what you do.
Yeah, that's a part of what a DNA activator. As a DNA activator, I'm teaching other people to consciously read their blueprints and to consciously become aware of what they can activate within themselves. And I also facilitate these activations for others, including animals, because they have all these gifts and codes in them too.
So these DNA activations, then it's not just the activating your immune system. It's obviously going to be activating your connection to the divine, your brilliance, your health, everything.
It's infinite, because we're all super humans. We're all super geniuses, but we've been functioning in this old paradigm of extreme limitation, lack, smallness. That old system is a hierarchical system, right? A patriarchal, hierarchical, oligarchical system designed out of fear. It is literally designed from fear. So in that fear-based reality, breaking through and breaking out of our own fear-based and limitation in terms of what we believe and perceive is kind of the name of the game of ascension, in a sense. Yes. And we don't realize it. Most people are just not aware. In a lot of cases, if you ask someone if they're afraid of anything that you pinpoint, they'll be like, I'm not afraid. But they don't understand how that fear is playing out in their reality until they're liberated from it, until they're freed of it.
That's very perceptive. And I think that's really true. And people don't know they even need more until they realize how limited they were. And that's the 3D reality, actually. Yes. Right? That's why.
Exactly. Another great example of the DNA, where I'll say it's corrupted, a great example is that in the DNA right now, one of the greatest challenges I think that we're dealing with is something called a divide and conquer program. It's not even real and authentic to humans. But what it does is it puts you in a space of argument, debate. I'm right, you're wrong. It makes us constantly, it puts people in skepticism, cynicism, doubt, disbelief. And they'll look at two talking heads on the TV and they think that they're talking about two different sides, but really they can't see or perceive or understand. All of that puts us in disharmony. Disharmony with ourselves, with one another, with our reality. And so this is why you have such extreme polarity in our world right now about any given topic, politics, race, religion, gender, that divide and conquer program alone is causing so much misery on our planet. And we're not aware that it's in the DNA and it's corrupted and it can be cleared out of the DNA. When it's cleared out of the DNA, you have so much more harmony. You're like, what's the point of arguing? Let's just be happy and enjoy more life.
so we don't even know we have these programs. I would never have, it's so interesting until you said the divide and conquer program. I understand that, I see it all around, but I didn't actually get that it is part of this 3D living broadcasting program of limitation, doubt, and fear.
Right.
So definitely,
it's a major contributor to relationship challenges and struggles
Mhm.
and problems, whether it's within a family dynamic, in a workspace. It's so embedded into the human consciousness. It's really challenging to get it out. And
I suppose it's
links
go
into
ahead.
superiority and arrogance. And I mean, when you're dealing with someone who's kind of like unconsciously arrogant, and you're just like, yeah, that doesn't feel good. Like, and they don't mean to be that way. It's just unconsciously operating.
Well, I kind of think there's a mass hypnosis. I think there's a programming that people have to believe that the emperor is naked, even when he's standing there naked, right in front of you. It's like if someone, there's a tendency that, and there has to be a program of believing what you're told without discernment, not, without actually seeing if that's really true.
Yeah.
And that has to be some program.
Well, that's linked into there too, but I mean, there's all kinds of things, right? That largely happens a lot of times. If somebody's watching, see, I always say we're the gatekeepers of what goes into our bodies, whether it's through our minds,
Mm-hmm.
through our ears, through our eyes, any part of our body, through our skin, even through our environment, the stuff we put on our skin, which I know your healthcare products are like a great example. So what I'm saying is we are the gatekeepers. And if we're not mindful of what's coming in, we will get what's called vibrationally attuned to that information, which is a form of brainwashing, right? It's literally the brain gets synchronized. It's called, hemisync, or, synchronization to whatever frequency information is at any bandwidth. So if you're watching, for example, a commercial that says something like, and I've said this a lot, may cause death, may cause suicide, ask your doctor, and then it plays you some butterflies and rainbows, like how wonderful it can be if you just throw a football and watch the butterflies. This schism creates like that's a beta brainwave, and then what we call a deep beta and a high alpha brainwave puts the brainwave in a schism. The space between can be anxiety. I don't know what to do. I don't know if I'm coming or going, deep beta, high alpha. And so the person now they're not functioning.
Yes.
And they don't realize that's what's happening because they're not being necessarily the best gatekeeper of their mind or their emotion, their field.
Well, I think this concept of being a gatekeeper is also a really new concept, Lori, for many people.
Yes.
Being a gatekeeper, and also, knowing all this, can we format our DNA? Go ahead. What were you going to say?
Be a gatekeeper of your body. Very important. Because whatever goes into your body, you must know. It doesn't matter if it's food, drink, alcohol, vaccine. You have to know exactly what it is. Because if you're not consciously aware of what's going into your body, like 100%, what you're doing is you're giving away your power to an external authority. Now that's a third dimensional paradigm. Like you, in order to shift into 5D, you have to become 100% responsible to your own self, and yes, to others, but in a different way. It doesn't mean you give power to another over you. It means you're operating what is for the 100% positive upliftment without harm or detriment to me or my body or my being.
Right.
You have to be the gatekeeper over what goes in your body. So, for example, most people aren't aware that they're shutting down their all of their brain activity, whether it's brain up in the head, brain in the heart, which we know we have heart brain in the gut, by what we take into our body. So artificial substances, like sweeteners, diet sodas, sugar, GMO foods, like every fast food is genetically modified now. And we do like that genetically modified food has been tested, and there's enough scientific evidence now that there's nanotechnology in there. There's all kinds of stuff that's just unspeakable, right? That should not be going into the body.
Right. So we're talking about now learning new tools.
Yeah, you're mute. You just got muted somehow, Joan. Sorry. Somewhere. Okay. You got to unmute yourself. But
I
yeah,
get
we're
so
very into it.
excited. I pull the microphone out. Look, I have to pull all the cords out. All right, we'll put it over there. I don't need it. This is better. So this is very exciting to me, Lori. So you're pointing out a lot of things that have been of concern to me, and I can tell from our audience too, like how to take that control back
Yes.
of our body and our mind.
Yes, it's so important. And that is part of shifting. Because in the third dimensional paradigm, where you've got this oligarchy, patriarchy that's benefiting to the harm of the many, at
Yes,
the expense of the many, for the benefit of the few. I mean, I could go on and on about that.
we
In
got
order
it.
to shift out of that, that reality also does not take responsibility.
Mhm.
It's a blame reality, someone else's fault. You know, someone's a victim and someone's a perpetrator. So in order to shift into 5D, you have to take 100% responsibility. What is my role? What is my part? How do I make that change? Even with regard to our health, you know, how do I shift and transform into taking full responsibility for my body, my being, my part, my contribution? What am I contributing to the world? How am I contributing? You know, how am I showing up in my own life and in the lives of those around me? So that's the shift from giving responsibility externally to taking responsibility internally, because that old reality is a reality based on external living. So everything in the external world has power over us in that old reality, including a virus. In the new reality, we have so much responsibility within, which gives us great power. And the power isn't power over another. The power is the power to create our reality the way we choose to experience it consciously. Which is,
All
again,
right. Highlight that, right.
positive upliftment for all. And it's not about controlling another ever.
Which is so interesting. And I sort of like I was realizing, I think this control that's been happening is a balance for us to understand how much freedom we really want and how much we have to take that back. It's only by seeing what's sort of going on outside that so many people are actually waking up at this period of time to take that power back. So
Yes.
I wanted to talk a little bit about your event then and how that could play into, like, first of all, I'm excited that you're in Arkansas. I don't know, when I look at you, you have this cute little accent that's almost like you belong in Arkansas. I knew you from LA, so I think that's crazy to begin with. But then now that I understand it was the crystals and the Lemurian crystals that drew you in there, so I'm thinking the Lemurian energy has a lot of healing for us. Is that right?
Yeah, well, so the thing with the crystals is the crystals were used by Lemurians, and they already had mastered in their time-space reality, which is just a parallel reality. They already mastered how to work with and utilize the crystals as record keepers, timekeepers, information and energy keepers. And so they already know how to traverse time and space, stuff that we're just starting to wake up to. So they know how to traverse time and space and utilize those crystals to share with us knowledge, wisdom, and energy to facilitate our awakening and our transformation. So crystals are just another tool that we can use. And among many tools. I mean, there's so many tools when we're willing.
Right.
But when we learn how to utilize these tools, that's another way that, yes, we take our power back, because we realize like how much we can heal ourselves. We're all healers. We can all heal ourselves. We're all intuitive. We learn, we're starting to learn, and that's what really the retreat is about. While we are digging the crystals, we are learning to meditate and heal with the crystals. We are learning how to communicate with the crystals and develop our telepathic ability. We are swimming in this velvety silk water, the waters of Arkansas, where these waters are just right on the crystal beds. The crystal beds are underneath these waters. I mean, we learn how to access portals, and I mean, through these portals, we can connect with other dimensions. So one of the portals that comes through the crystal bed here is the magical, mystical realm, which some people think is crazy, but it's real. We just never had access to it. So that's like the portals where dolphins can come through there, but mermaids and, you know, like unicorns, stuff that we just always thought was so like woo-woo or fake. It's just a dimension of reality. And they're interacting now more with us. So the crystal retreat that I lead is really about really unlocking and awakening more of our gifts, talents, and abilities,
Mhm.
awakening our DNA, and it's also really about camaraderie for light workers and awakening beings, so that we can come together and connect in this way, because it's so much fun. It's just so much fun. And the people, I've been leading these retreats for a long time now, and this will be the last one, unfortunately, just because of my own bandwidth, just because of how much I had to say no to other things, and I want to be able to do other things. But the people who go on the crystal retreats form lifetime friendships. And I mean, we're still, all the alumni are still on our private Facebook group, and now they interact with the people who are coming back this year. We always have alumni who come back too. It's just incredible. Friendship, camaraderie, awakening, there's healing. I do a lot of channeling because I love channeling. I love accessing these unknown realms of information and energy and consciousness that it's not written in any book. This is new information and energy that formerly for us we couldn't access because of our dimensional bandwidth.
Right, because we were also more in that logical 3D world. So this is part of, so this event is actually in a very magical fifth dimension, sixth dimensional Lemurian energetic field. I'm getting people, and it's for light workers and star seeds who want that connection, who are ready to leave their logical 3D thinking behind anyway. Right. And I can only imagine that being with you for a few days would actually be so fun, Lori.
It's really transformative. And I mean, I will say, we are activating more of our right brain awareness. We do activate more of our heart center, brain. Oh, yes. We're building the brain matter in the heart center. We're building up the brain matter in the gut, which a lot of people don't realize. We actually do have brain matter in our heart and brain matter in our gut. Like, that's already scientifically demonstrated. So we're reclaiming those fragmented aspects of our soul from other time-space realities, come into more unification with our own divinity, with the divine that we are.
Wow. So I actually heard you talk about this event in some event I was listening to you talk about, and I was totally blown away. I feel like it's totally an interdimensional portal to a new experience, to an eye-opener for many people. And I do get that even now more than ever, we are like the butterfly in the chrysalis, and we kind of all need to get that cocooning at certain times of our life to come together. I also remember you talked that everyone's going to find their own stone, right? Their own crystal. Oh, yeah. Is that what I recall?
We dig for we do dig crystals, and we're in the earth and we're working with them, because these crystals want to connect with their right humans. And because they are used for grid work by light workers, this isn't like a coral reef, right? That's a living animal. You don't mess with a coral reef. These crystals, like, their purpose is to be used largely to facilitate consciousness and awakening. So we do learn grid work, which is all about gridding for the new earth, the new paradigm that helps humanity to awaken and make this shift. And I mean, the big thing is really what's happening is, if you look at reality like third dimensional paradigm, we can see it's just become quite unbearable to live in. And the restrictions, the limitations, the fear of, how can you survive? Stay home, like the fear of death, whatever it is, it's just become it's unbearable, in my opinion. And it's not, the old system of control is not going away. It's collapsing, but it's fighting for its own survival. So over the next, what I perceive and what I've been given through channel downloads that I do channeling, is that over the next 5 years, especially, 3 to 5 years, the intensity that is coercing humanity to make this shift will become more and more intense for humanity, who are still in 3D, so to speak. But for those of us who are making the shift, it will become more and more joyful and benevolent, effortless, graceful, because we are shifting to this new timeline, or this new vibratory frequency of operating, thinking, believing, behaving, that will, for us, facilitate just these kinds of wonderful joy-based experiences, prosperity, abundance, health, and well-being, that just are beyond our imaginings. So when we look at the shifting of the future for humanity, the great news is that the moment we as individuals begin choosing more of this consciousness change, our lives are going to be continually improving, like in wonderful ways. And by doing that, we are literally, by letting our lives improve, we are literally uplifting the rest of humanity and creating a stronger bridge, so to speak, for others to make the shift.
Yes. And who will wake up. Right.
We're cleaning up, right? We're helping Earth as well in that sense, because Earth is making her shift. That is her will to shift. And she wants us to make that shift with her rather than for us to transition. That's not her will, for us to suffer, because our suffering is her suffering, because we're extensions of her. So as we up level and shift, we're also helping humanity.
So I have another question for you. Actually, our audience has great questions if you want to answer some of them.
Yeah, I love it.
Well, service to all, can you elaborate? But my question to you is what do you see then as an overall, the future of humanity?
Yeah, and then we'll address the service to all. So what I see for the future of humanity is we're going to go through some very intense growing pains over the next 3 to 5, I would say 15 years. And I think that our 15-year outlook, 15 approximately, could be 20, depends on how much we resist versus how much we allow it. I see that our reality is going to change so significantly for the good of all, ultimately, where we are basically liberated from this old paradigm where we were mostly unconscious and playing in the game of limitation and lack, separation, suffering, pain, illness. I see the human transformation and the animal transformation shifting to, not even shifting, evolving into a reality where eventually we don't have any more sickness, we don't have any more disease, the degree of suffering is going to be eventually, I think, eradicated from our reality. I see all of that, and I see that as positive. Like, we're going to be all healers. I think we're going to start seeing all kinds of benevolent technologies like med beds that can age reverse people.
Right.
Like, I see all
technology. You see it all happening.
Yeah, but it's kind of discernment to know, because it's not all benevolent. But I see all of that changing, and I see all of the consciousness shifting to awakening our DNA, that we are becoming a spiritually awakened planet. And through our spiritual awakening, and spiritual, I do not mean religious in this case.
Right.
It's beyond what we have known in our old paradigm. And that is going to lead us to an incredibly wonderful experience. However, I think the next 3 to 5 years will be quite intense.
Yes.
And we're seeing people so-called check out, and I'm for great compassion for the people and animals who are transitioning out of physicality and families. But I do understand that that's part of the intensity of this shift, and that there's more. I think we're going to have to reconcile with this old corrupted system of hierarchy, patriarchy that is inflicting much more fear and control on the masses. I think a lot of the masses we're seeing that revolt, and lots of big changes ahead. And we do see our money system changing, but I think that from the divine perspective and the channelings that I've received, it really is attempting to do it with as much grace as possible, and at the same time, as expediently as possible, which sometimes doesn't feel quite as graceful.
So, not wanting to alarm anyone, but if we put it in the whole perspective, what has been going on in the last 20 some odd or 18 months, whatever, has really sped up this process of kind of decompressing, decomposing, so we can rebuild.
Yes, for sure.
And, that's how I see it. Yeah.
Again, there's no way to, express the deep sadness and grief for the people and the animals who have been suffering, whether it's COVID or any other reason, like just loss of loved ones, all of that is really painful for our people. And of course, we don't want that. That's why light workers are trying our best to make these changes. This is why when we do healing on the DNA, when we work as a collective in the realms of consciousness, we are able to remove or to lessen this burden. And at the same time, for those of us who are here, what's most important, I think, at least in regard to COVID, is to begin to extract how that has served us.
Yes, that's
and
what I was
realize
saying.
that in the now moments, we are creating our future moments.
Mhm.
So by receiving whatever gifts, rather than being in a state of fear about what's to come, we're changing the trajectory for the future. Because we are waking up to our role in creation, that we are all co-creating our reality, and that to some degree, not even some degree, to such a large degree, the collective fear of death, fear of dis-ease, fear of another, fear of controlling systems, fear of loss of freedom, like all of these things were brought to the surface for us to resolve within ourselves.
Process and see how we as a society feel about it too. I do believe that all of that plays a part.
Yes.
God, this is actually really exciting. I want to keep going. There's so many interesting things that I keep saying the last question I have for you, but you brought up the animal kingdom, okay? And I know how close you are to the animal kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
And I hadn't thought about how COVID might be affecting the animal kingdom. I'm not sure any of us really have. The not just the animal kingdom, I guess, all the kingdoms, even the bird kingdom and the plants. So not taking a lot of time, but
can I say animals are not vulnerable to COVID the way humans are? It's a misnomer to believe that they are. The reason that they're not vulnerable in the same way is because COVID largely, and I really don't mean to hurt anyone, but this is just shifting of consciousness here. COVID, the exacerbation of COVID was created in a human reality that was further developed through our fear of it. And the animals don't have a fear of it. They're not afraid of it. They're not living with that fear. And therefore, they're not magnets for it. They're not attracting it to them individually in the same way. Their biome, their genetic makeup is not vulnerable to it in the same way that a human is, because their consciousness is not being programmed through television and mass.
Right.
I'll use the word brainwashing.
Right. But what I was actually thinking, I wasn't so much concerned about them catching us or being, your dog is so beautiful. Can we see her face? Can we see her face? Because she's been listening to everything. Oh my God. Mwah, mwah, mwah. So cute, so cute, so cute. But I was thinking that there must have, I think what hit me is, oh my God, I have not considered the emotional impact, not the physical that they would be subject to the disease, but the emotional impact that has kind of spread as a byproduct of what us humans have been doing.
Yeah, well, that does affect them. So if they're living in a family dynamic, like if they're a pet and the human is carrying extreme anxiety or extreme fear, they are the sponges. The animals are the ultimate sponges, the ultimate empaths. So they feel that in the environment that they're in, and they absorb it partially as a way to help heal their human, to take it away from their human. And you can't tell them not to, because it's just the way energy works in divine contracts. And partially as a way to help mirror to their human, to teach their human, because they have contracts to help humans wake up. So they're more aware in that way, but they are affected that way. And then, I mean, even if you just think, I mean, the labs, I mean, the government, the testing labs and the vaccine testing labs, and we don't see that stuff or think of that stuff, but the way animals have been used for research, especially even with the vaccines, I mean, that's heartbreaking, right? Because humans don't realize yet that these are real sentient, conscious beings with a divine purpose to help humanity to evolve. And so in so doing, they are often willing to unconsciously, not even unconsciously always, kind of put themselves in situations that will offer humans opportunity to become more loving, become more compassionate, to become more forgiving, to become more conscious and aware. And that doesn't always mean it's necessarily their, that the joy in the animal, right? Kind of thing.
Oh God, I know. Your dog is so precious. Someone told me the other day it was time for me to get another dog.
Oh,
And I've been resisting that. Why
are you resisting it?
Well, so personal. So I had a beautiful chow chow. No, I had a beautiful chow chow. And he was like the love of our lives. He was a really gentle angel, and he passed. And then I did have a dog for a year who was too young for me. He was like a two-year-old whippersnapper, and it drove me ragged, literally. And then so he went to his other family. That's okay. But then I got scared of the responsibility suddenly, except I know that the companionship is actually, I want to like love all over this.
Well, you know what? You just want to get an animal that's your right divine match.
Frequency. Yes.
It took me a long time to find this dog. It wasn't that there weren't dogs out there. It's just the universe was blocking me in a way. It wasn't just the universe. I don't like to blame it on the universe. My own divine self, in collaboration with this, what I believe, the soul and spirit of this animal, we were meant to meet. And so I was like looking for my dog and trying to get my dog, and they kept months. They were just falling through. Like I'd go to think I was going to adopt a dog, and then I'd call up the shelter, and they'd be like, "Oh, that one just went." 5 minutes after it got posted, that kind of thing. Just there were a lot of that. So it's the same thing, by the way, for anyone who wants to meet their right person.
I was going to say, I'm looking for both, the right person and the right animal.
Right. So, one of the best ways to call that the right one forward, in a sense, and this is way oversimplifying, right? Because there's more to it, but just be asking, who's the divine selection for you? We have all these terminologies like soulmate, twin flame, and those are nice words, but they're now very kind of polluted by human interpretation of what that is. But you have a divine selection that's right for you. That's like the selection that you and God and the other soul, whether it's human or animal, made together. And that's a divine selection. And that's what I was looking for with this animal.
I love that terminology. Divine
is going to be someone. Yeah, that's going to be someone for you, Joan, that is your right energy level, who likes to walk when you like to walk, who sleeps when you sleep, doesn't need more exercise than you need, but
God, that was terrible.
You know what I mean? It's like, this animal is so rightly aligned for me. When I'm doing interviews, she's almost always totally mellow, just like in my lap. And then when we go out and play, she's just hyper like me. So she likes
so cute. What's her name?
Her name's Emma Shasta.
Emma Shasta. Okay. Everyone meet Emma Shasta. Okay. So Lori, I just want to go back to your event again. Everyone, Lori is being very gracious, and
let's say that.
Yes, you're being very gracious and offering a divine discount, a Joan of Angels, and guess what? I'm thinking I'm going to hear them say it. Guess what the coupon code is, guys?
Do you want me to say it, or do you want to?
Yes, say it.
It's Angels. So if you go to my website at lorispagna.com, under the live events tab, you will see the events tab. You'll see Starseed, Lightworker, Crystal Experience, or the Sacred Crystal Experience. And if you go to the checkout, you can save $222 by using the coupon code ANGELS. And that is specifically through Joan of Angels, like that, because Joan asked, can we do something special for our tribe, your tribe? And so I haven't put that anywhere else. It's just for this community. And I just will say, it's literally, it will be 7 days of the best time of your life. And if you want to go to my YouTube channel just to see, there are so many testimonials and reviews from our alumni, and almost the one thing that is said most frequently is like that it's better than anything they expected. It was off the charts, and that they, highly recommended. It's like, just go see the YouTube testimonials. People love it.
I read the YouTube. I want you to know something. I watched you do a talk about it, and it was like so inviting that honestly, I almost feel like I'm in Arkansas with you. For the first time in my life, I can imagine, wow, Arkansas, huh? Because California is getting old. That's all I can say. We're not going to discuss that. So, guys, I'm so happy that I had a chance to introduce Lori to all of you. I know many of you know her already. She's very special to me. I always love introducing you, Lori. Maybe I'll make one of my careers. They'll say, "What did you do on Earth?" And I'll go, "Well, I got to introduce Lori a few times, and that was like the best pleasure ever."
Thank you, Joan. You're so sweet. I mean, I've had a great time with you. I'm really glad that we had this chance to get together, because I've been on the road, and it took me a while to get to Arkansas because I was driving cross country to get here. And this is just one of my favorite spots. And I've noticed since I've been here, like, I will just say Arkansas is just, for me, it's just so beautiful. If you love nature, if you love green and trees, if you love crystals, if you love water and lakes, and it's so pure and spacious. And I was thinking this, like, it's so affordable too. It's kind of like
and that's
playground for awakening beings,
Oh God, Arkansas. I think I have actually have some other friends who might have gone that direction. And for those of us in California who want to leave, that's a good thing to know. All right, Lori, I just so appreciate it. We'll have you on again. And I just adore seeing you. I'll interview you anytime. I'll be your go-to. All right?
See each other again.
All right, take care. All right, guys. Well, was that the best? Okay, so being with Lori and having a chance to chat with her actually is very, very special to me. And this event she is having, when I saw that she was taking people into the crystal mines and people were actually digging for their own crystals and resonating with them, and then these DNA activations, I don't know about you, but what she said about the DNA activations today, some of it was truly new information for me. And boy, I spent last weekend on the disclosure conference, and this was still new information, what we can do with our DNA activation. So look up Lori if you can and check her out. So meanwhile, just to remind all of you, if you are new to my channel, I'm so excited. You guys are a great support crew. I'm looking at all of these comments. I'll be answering them all. And I'm just excited to welcome you to my Joan of Angels YouTube channel, my Joan of Angels page. Please like, please share, please subscribe. I know you hear it from every speaker, but it is the only way that we grow and get our message out there. That's how come you found us, because someone else got us to that level. And while you're at it, I am joanofangels.com, and check out my intuition class, because as Lori mentions, we are going to go through some little challenging times as we get ready to have, 15 years. Well, I don't want to tell you how old I'll be in 15 years, but let's get our groove on as a collective, guys. So I will see you all next time. I'm so excited that you came and stepped into the miraculous with me. And you are the best of the best. Ciao from the Desert Heart Sanctuary. I'll see you all soon. Just step onto your miracle path and enjoy your life. Love you all.